Hello everyone, I'm Mark Bright and here's a quick tutorial on how to solve the animation question which came in the Cambridge A-level exam of November 2023. Task 3. You will create an animation to give the impression of viewing a harbour scene through a telescope. You have to set a frame of 640 pixels wide by 480 pixels high and use harbourview.jpg as the background. Then we are to create a circular telescope view as shown. The view outside the telescope must be partially obscured using a mask like this. Then we are to create an animation as follows. The telescope view must appear from the bottom left corner after 0.5 seconds. The telescope view must then take 6 seconds to follow this path and end showing the lighthouse. So we have a series of thumbnails showing the path of our telescope view. The view must then take 2 seconds to zoom in smoothly until the telescope view fits the stage as shown. Finally, we have to save the animation as an animated GIF, file named telescope view, followed by your center number and candidate number. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'll be using Adobe Animate. So let's go ahead and create our frame. First, we go to create new, and then we go ahead and set the frame size. And click on create. Next, we need to import our image. So we go to file, import, import to library. Go ahead and select your image and click open. Now, if we check from the library in the top right corner and the properties panel, you will see our Harbour view image here. Select it, click and drag it onto the stage. And let's go into the properties panel and change the size. And use the move tool to reposition it into our frame. Now let's go ahead and name this layer. I'm naming it undimmed. Right click the layer, select duplicate layers. And name this one dimmed. With the dimmed layer still selected, we go to the properties panel and look for color effects. And where it says none, we drop down and select brightness. Make sure your brightness comes down to say -70. Now we create a new layer and name it Telescope. Our animation will last for 6 seconds. So we're going to insert frame for the dimmed and undimmed layer. So on the timeline, we move to 6 seconds. Select the frame for the undimmed and dimmed. Hold down Control to select both. And up here, we select the insert frame button. Now, in case you don't have this button, after you've made your selection, right click, select insert frame, or press F5. Now to create our telescope, we need a circle. So under the shapes tool panel on our left, I select the oval tool. Then I move to the properties panel on my right to ensure that I have a fill. The fill cone can be any color. I'm going to choose bright green, but it should have no stroke. Make sure you've selected the first frame of the telescope layer. Hold down Shift and draw your circle just outside your canvas. Select the Move tool or the Selection tool and click on your telescope. Go to the right where we have the object under the Properties panel And let's change the width and the height of our telescope. In this case, I'm changing it to 140 by 140. Now right click the shape we've created and select Convert to Symbol. Let's name the symbol Telescope 1 and click OK. Still with the telescope layer selected, we go to Insert and create a motion twin. Now come down to the timeline and to the end of the motion twin till you see a two-sided arrow. Click and drag the arrow till you get to 8 seconds. Now let's move back to the beginning of our animation and add the various positions for our telescope. With a quick reference to the question paper, we have a guide of how to position our telescope. First, let's reduce our canvas from 100 to say 50. Now let's select our telescope and place it around the bottom left corner of our canvas. The first position starts from 0.5 seconds, which is 15 frames. So over here, where it's written 1, I can enter 15 to get the exact point. Now we click and drag our telescope to this position. Next, we move our playhead to the 1 second mark, that's 30 frames, and click and drag our telescope this way. Then we move to 2 seconds and go this way. You move to 3 seconds and somewhere up here. You move to 4 seconds and you come way down here. Five seconds to the side. And on the 6 second mark, we end up covering the lighthouse. Now in 2 seconds, our telescope must now zoom in smoothly till it fits the screen. So on the 6 second mark, where the keyframe is, I'm going to right click and say Insert Keyframe All. So aside the position, it's going to bear that of a scale as well. So let's move to 8 seconds. Pick our free transform tool and resize and reposition our telescope. Like this. Now let's head back to our layers panel and interchange the position of the dimmed and undimmed layers. This is to avoid our telescope from giving us an inverted version of what is required. So I'm going to place the undimmed on top of the dimmed like this. Now we head back to the 6 second mark and select our undimmed layer. Make sure the undimmed layer is selected and insert a keyframe. We now click on the keyframe or use the selection tool to make sure the keyframe is selected and go into Insert at the top and let's create a motion twin. You will have this warning of converting it to a symbol. Just click OK. Now let's bring our cursor close to where the keyframe is and we should have a double-headed arrow. So we can click and expand the motion twin we've just created. Let's expand it to the 8-second mark, where our telescope is enlarged. So let's go to where we resize our stage, and let's reduce it to, say, 25. With our playhead still on the 8-second mark, on the undimmed layer, we select our free transform tool and click on the eye button on the telescope to hide the telescope. Now back on our undimmed layer, we expand. Hold shift whilst you increase the size and move it to the center of your canvas like this. We can unhide our telescope once again and go back to the canvas size and say fit in window. Now let's head back to the first frame. Reduce the size of our stage to 50. And let's create a new layer so that we can add an outline for the telescope. So we're going to place that layer on top of all the layers. Let's name it outline. And let's go into where the shapes are and pick our oval tool. And then we head to our properties panel on our right and ensure that it has no fill, but it has a stroke, a black stroke. Let's increase the size of the stroke to, say, 15. And with our outline layer still selected, we hold down shift whilst we draw a circle to fit our telescope. Now with the layer still selected, we go to insert and create a motion twin. The symbol warning will come up. Just click OK. So now we have an outline as well. Now let's locate the parent icon. Click on it once to open the parenting tab. And let's click and drag our outline to parent to the telescope layer. In so doing, wherever the telescope goes, the outline follows. Now let's head to the 6-second mark where it scales up from here. And let's scrub through and see what happens. So we have something like this. It follows it, but it doesn't scale up. So simply what we are going to do is on the 6-second mark on the outline layer, we insert a keyframe. We then move to the 8-second mark and pick the free transform tool. Hold down shift whilst we resize it to fit our canvas. Now if we scrub through the playhead, when it's scaling up, it will follow as well. We can now right click on our telescope layer and click select mask. At this point, we need to extend the dimmed layer and resize it so that it matches the view in the telescope. So let's bring our playhead back to the 6-second mark and select the dim layer. Insert a keyframe. Now you move to the 8 seconds. Select the frame there. Insert another keyframe. Now in between the two keyframes, we right click and create a classic twin. When the symbol warning appears, click OK. Now we move our playhead to the last frame, the 8 seconds. And with the free transform tool selected, we try and resize our dimmed layer so that it matches what we have in the telescope. After resizing it, then we move it behind the telescope so that the outer areas of our telescope look dimmed. Now, when I scrub through my playhead and it gets to the zooming part, it should zoom together with what we have in the telescope. Now let's go ahead and test our animation. Lastly, we need to export our project as an animated GIF. So we go to File, Export, select Animated GIF. Ensure that the image size, the width and height are correct. Let's click on Save. Let's enter the name as required. And that brings us to the end of another tutorial. In the past few minutes, we've learned how to use the motion tween, the classic tween, how to parent a layer to another, and how to apply a mask. We also learned how to dim an image using the brightness in the color effects. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, kindly hit the like button and share. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Keep your notification bell active so that you don't miss out on the next video. Till we meet in the next tutorial, it's bye.